Okay, so first off, I've had a couple people ask me about my settings and setup, so I thought I would just make a video and go over and explain the settings I use for you guys. So first off, I want to say that almost everything is going to be different for you guys and also just preference. Copying all my settings probably isn't going to bring you any immediate success, but some of the settings I use are useful and could give you a competitive advantage if you don't already use them. So to start off, my PC isn't actually all that powerful. I'm just running a NVIDIA 1660 Super graphics card and an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. I believe it's overclocked to maybe 4 or 3.8 or 4.1 megahertz, but I'm not really sure on that. I can't remember. And then I also have only 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. I know there has been some complaints of not being able to run CS2 with some lower end PCs, but I personally haven't had any issues running it, especially with my settings. Other than that, I don't do anything special outside of the game settings, no configs or auto execs or anything funky with my NVIDIA filters. So other than that, just the game settings here. I think start with video. I have my brightness at 93% on full screen, and I have 144 hertz. And then onto the resolution and aspect ratio. I like to play around with this a bit. Currently, I'm on widescreen 16:9. I have played with 4:3, and if you do 4:3, crank this up as high as it can go. For me, it's just 1440 by 1080. I like to have 16:9 1920 by 1080, and that is just because I like the game. I like the pretty game, right? CS2 is a much prettier game than CSGO was. In Go, I did run 4:3. I have tried 4:3. I have a couple clips using 4:3. I don't mind it, but I think the higher resolution is worth it because the game just looks so much better. I know some pros and top level players will use 4:3 because it makes the models look wider. It also makes them look faster, so it looks like they're running faster. I could recommend this, but I know it could be weird getting used to, especially if you don't use 4:3 in other games. So this is ultimately just your preference. Your display mode, I would keep this on full screen. I know people put this on full screen windowed because it's weird on full screen when you alt tab or tab out or anything of the sort. But I think full screen is better because I don't want to accidentally, scroll off the page and tab out of CS2 while I'm playing. So next on to the good stuff, which is advanced settings. So I have boost player contrast enabled and wait for vertical sync disabled. Almost every game you want to disable your vertical sync, it just caps your frame rate at terrible values, and it doesn't help you, especially if you're not getting any screen tearing. If you are getting screen tearing, I would try this, but usually it's better just to deal with the screen tearing. And then video presets are custom, obviously. Multi-sampling anti-aliasing mode, I have this at 2. I know it's recommended for, but I don't think it does too much other than kill some of my frames at higher values, so I just keep this at 2. Global shadow quality is high. The only reason I have this on high and not very high is because I just want to save a little bit of extra frames. I don't think very high does all that much of a difference compared to high, so I just keep it on high. But definitely you can play around with this to your liking. Model texture detail, I have this at medium. It's not at high, so I can save some frames, but it's not at low because I've heard that if you have it on low, it can mess with some of the textures. Like they'll just bug out or act all funky, and you'll have to come into the settings and change it to medium, and then change it back to low to fix it. And I don't really want to deal with all that, so I just keep it at medium. This setting also isn't the setting for your skins, so that's the reason why it's also not at high. Texture filtering mode. Now this setting is the setting for your skins. This is going to make your skins look so much better, and it actually doesn't kill that many frames. So definitely just crank this up to 16 if you enjoy looking at skins. Can't recommend this enough. If you don't like how skins look in this game, crank this up and then give me your opinion again. Next is shader detail. I have this on low, and particle detail is on low because the particles in this game and CSGO were annoying to deal with, especially Molotovs, grenades. I want to be able to look through them as much as possible. I hate when the grenade is actually just a smoke grenade and then I die because of it. So I keep this as low as possible for that reason. Ambient occlusion is actually on medium. And the reason it's not on high is because I want to save frames and medium is the lowest value without disabling it. But you want this on because I think you can actually see it here. When the models are close to a wall in certain lightings, you can actually see their shadow up against the wall. You can see it better up here, especially when he's moving like that. You can actually see a little bit of their shadow up against the wall. So if they're holding like a weird angle or slow peeking, sometimes this will help you see the shadow before they even come around the corner. So definitely put this on medium or high. I don't think it really matters. I believe medium just helps you save some frames, so I would put this on medium. High dynamic range, I have this on performance, again to save some frames, and fidelity super resolution, this is on highest quality. And the reason it's not on anything else is because this makes your game look terrible if it's on anything else. So I keep this at highest quality. If you are having trouble running CS2, I would definitely recommend messing with this setting more than anything else if you don't care about the way that the game looks and you just want to run it. Definitely mess with this setting. And then NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency, I have this on enabled. I heard enabled plus boost is kind of buggy right now and doesn't really work. I'm not sure if they fixed that, so I just have it on enabled. Okay, next on to audio. I have this at 96%. This is kind of preference. I heard that if you can hear the cat smoke bloom on Mirage from T-Spawn, then you're good to go. But I personally would recommend just crank this up as much as you can without it hurting your ears or being too loud for you. Because sometimes I've definitely heard people before my teammates, and I've had to tell them, and it can be the difference maker in the round. So other than that, equal profile at natural. Crisp is really bassy and smooth. I just don't like it. So I keep this at natural. LNR isolation is at 70%. This will be most like CSGO in my opinion. And then perspective correction is on no. I've heard you can put this on yes, I've heard you can put this on no. I like no, but you can definitely mess around with this if you want to. Other than that, your music is up to preference as well. I know some people just crank all of this all the way down. They don't like the music. I like a little bit of music, but the only setting I really have to go over is this mute MVP music when players are both teams are alive. I don't know if they had this in CSGO, but you want to put this on yes. And the reason is when you're in those post like round situations and you're looking for the last guy who's trying to save, you're trying to kill him, and all you can hear is the ENCE soundtrack as he's running up behind you, it can be kind of annoying. So turn this on yes, and you'll thank me later. Next, on to game. So, max acceptable matchmaking ping. So I want you to turn this as low as you can, okay? The reason is this setting is going to help you prioritize getting games with the lowest ping for you. And when I did this, it actually did help. I used to get games with 60, 70, 80 ping all the time, and now I pretty much only get games around 30 maximum. And I don't actually have to wait all that much longer for the games either. I know that's probably the main argument against doing this, but I think it is definitely worth it. So I know some people will turn this off, the without sound or disabled, just because some people will spam the ping button at especially lower ranks or just be annoying. Um, but I don't find it to be that annoying. Like they can only spam it about like 4 times before it goes away, and that's only like 2 seconds maybe of the noise that you'll hear. And sometimes when someone isn't communicating or isn't using their words, they will use the ping, and if you have the disabled, you won't even be able to tell. Or with the sound off, you won't hear it, you won't be able to tell. And so I like to have this on just for those players. It does happen. I use the ping sometimes. And I know people will have this off or the sound off, and it can just ruin a round, okay? But ultimately, it is up to you. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is this detached silencer on M4A1. You can disable this if you, for some reason, are detaching the silencer like mid-spray or mid-gunfight, and it can get you killed sometimes. But I'd like to have this on because when you're hiding in certain close angles with an M4A1S or the USP, your silencer will actually stick out a little bit, and it can give away your position. There's a couple angles. I think the one on overpass dividers is a good example of this. So you can actually take the silencer off of the gun, and it won't show it because you took it off. So it makes the gun a little bit shorter, and it helps you hide a little bit better. And it could be the difference between 4K spray down or you immediately dying. And then you're like, how did they know I was there? It's because the silencer sometimes. So I like to have this on, but you can disable it if you accidentally click the right click all the time or anything. I'm not sure if there's another way you can put this on like a button or a key, but for right now, I just like to have it on secondary fire. And then crosshair is probably the most personal preference on this list. My crosshair, some people won't like, some people will love my crosshair. If you want it, right now this is the one I'm running. All the settings are right here, of course. But I go through crosshairs all the time. I've been using the dot, I've been using this, I like using the outline sometimes, follow recoil on, legacy, static, I mess with it all the time. So this is something that's always going to change. The only thing I do really like is follow recoil. I was never really good at spraying, but with follow recoil, it really does help me learn the spray and hit more of my sprays. I know some people will start spraying and then they'll pull all the way down and then all the way to the left with, like, say the AK, and it's not even there yet. Like, you have like 10 bullets that just go straight up, and you wouldn't even really think about it that much if you have follow recoil on. You just put the crosshair on the guy, you know. I really like it. I can tell that some people think it's annoying just moving around the screen whenever you shoot, but the reason I really like follow recoil is actually because of the recoil. It's because when I'm tap firing, the crosshair will bounce up a little bit and then it'll come back down, and I like it more than using legacy, which will bloom the crosshair out when you shoot, because it doesn't like move the crosshair around. Like, you still have like the center of the crosshair, you can still use it. And I actually use follow recoil to spread out my bursts a lot easier, my decoy shots a lot easier. But ultimately, this is up to preference, so do what you will. And then finally is my mouse sensitivity. So I have this at 1.53 and zoom sense is at 1. I'm running 800 DPI on my Logitech G503 wireless, and the reason I have this at 1 is just because I like it. This is also preference. I've played around with 0.85, 0.91, 0.99. Like, it doesn't really matter as long as you get used to it and you like it. That's what I would run. So, that is all my settings. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.